Welcome back, everyone. Today, Alex and I are discussing the challenge of candidate submittals and why Alex believes business leaders should remove that step from their process. Alex, can you kick things off by explaining what you mean by candidate submittals and why you think they might be an issue?
Let's just start with what is a candidate submittal. So candidate submittal is typically a document or an email that accompanies a candidate's resume that attempts to sell the recipient on why they should interview a candidate.
Got it. So a candidate submittal is like a pitch for why a company should interview a particular candidate. Why do you think this step might be unnecessary or even problematic for business leaders?
Recently volunteered to help out a friend with a search that they were doing for another company. And we were sourcing candidates for them. And we submitted a couple of candidates to the recruiting manager at our friend's company. And the email backs that we were getting were basically asking for information that was available in the candidate submittal. Not only were we spending time preparing the submittal, but then the submittal document was either not being presented in the way that the reviewer needed, or it was not being read in detail. Essentially, we ran into this communication bottleneck where information that one party needed was creating a bottleneck in the process.
That sounds frustrating. It seems like the submittal process added an extra layer that didn't necessarily help move things forward. If the information wasn't being read or wasn't meeting the needs of the reviewer, it's almost like a miscommunication in written form, right? So, what do you think would be a more efficient approach for handling candidate reviews?
Let me just touch on this really quick, is that every one of these emails could potentially add a business day delay into the process. If candidate is waiting to be scheduled for an interview until these two parties are on the same page about what's contained in the submittal, if they have two back and forth, that could be potentially 2 or 3 business days of delay for that candidate experience. And we preach and we believe that candidate experience is the most important factor in effective recruiting, and the best and easiest way to be great at candidate experience is to be fast.
Absolutely. Speed is crucial in providing a good candidate experience. So, if submittal emails are causing delays, they're actually hurting the recruiting process. It sounds like you're advocating for a more streamlined approach, maybe something like direct communication or even a different way of presenting candidate information that avoids this back and forth. What are your thoughts on potential alternatives to the submittal process?
I think the best way is to interview qualified candidates. Just get candidates on the calendar. Sales teams, if companies treated their sales prospects like they treated their recruiting candidates, they would go out of business. And frankly, that's happening to a lot of labor-intensive businesses right now that aren't able to keep up with their labor demands. They may not be going out of business, but they're certainly feeling that choke. What I would say is get those folks on the interviews and then hold whoever's sourcing candidates or the hiring manager somewhat accountable to the question of, do these candidates meet our minimum qualifications? Be less focused on what exactly are they looking for compensation, like when exactly are they looking to start? These questions don't really matter until we get to the final stages of evaluating a candidate. What matters at the beginning is, one, does this candidate have the qualifications required for the role? And 2, are they interested in the role? Outside of that, all this other data is just noise.
That makes a lot of sense. By focusing on getting candidates directly into interviews, you're prioritizing speed and efficiency. It also allows you to quickly determine if they meet the basic qualifications and are interested in the role. The comparison to sales is a great point. Just like in sales, the longer the process drags out, the higher the chance of losing a qualified candidate. So in essence, you're suggesting that businesses should prioritize speed by scheduling interviews with qualified candidates right away and handling finer details later in the process. This approach could help improve the overall candidate experience and potentially lead to better hiring outcomes. Wrapping up, it sounds like your main takeaway is to streamline the recruiting process by eliminating candidate submittals and focusing on quick, direct interviews with qualified candidates. This can ultimately lead to a better candidate experience and more efficient hiring. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to stop today. Thanks, Tyler.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex, for sharing those insights. And thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to join us next time as we continue to explore ways to navigate the post-COVID talent market. Until then, take care.